Darren, one of the things you mentioned in our last video that really grabbed my attention was the word you used when we're talking about coaching of being a thinking partner. It made me very curious. What is this thing called a thinking partner? What is a thinking partner, Darren?
A thinking partner is a partner, a trusted advisor that creates the space for you, a person, to process, to get clarity, to get direction, get insight. And they create it in a way that just allows them to process. And sometimes it's very much a conversation, and sometimes it's just a listening. It can go in a few different directions, but the foundational principle is creating this space for an individual to really process, gain clarity, and gain insight.
So fantastic. So let's take a look at and get into some specifics. What are the, again, big three? What are the three things that kind of define what a thinking partner does?
I always love the big three. First and foremost is that they listen. I think that is sometimes the entirety of a thinking partner can just be listening, and listening with intention. And second of all is asking really good questions. And this is often where, it comes alive, is being able to ask questions that really open up some different files for somebody. And then third is reframing. And that's often where it comes to it. And we'll talk about this in a little more detail, but reframing can become a really valuable part, of that thinking partner process.
Okay, so that's three things, the big three: listening, questioning, reframing. I think each one of those in itself is quite a meaty topic, and maybe we should break it down into three different bits. So maybe this video we can start with one, and then subsequent videos look at the other two.
Outstanding idea, Andre. Let's start with listening. Something you're very, very good at and you have a lot of insight on. So I think let's start right at the top with listening. So love to get your thoughts on what makes somebody, especially in a thinking partner context, a really good listener.
Thank you. Yes, listening is a skill. It's something that we have to learn how to do better. And I think in one of the things that in the crazy world that we live in right now, with so much going on, is listening tends to suffer because everything is given to us in bytes and sound bites and in bits. And we kind of are left to make judgment. But truly listening shifts everything. I was talking to a colleague of mine about this topic, and he happened to be Chinese and a Mandarin speaker. And he said, Andre, he said, the West could learn so much by just stopping and thinking about the symbol we use in Mandarin for listening. Got me curious. And he showed it to me, and he broke it down into these 5 things. Now, the symbol is pronounced ting in Mandarin. I don't know if I've got that perfectly right, but it's always been there, and it's always been something that I think about if I'm in a meeting with someone or I'm in a conversation with someone. I just go back to ting, and there's 5 elements in the symbol, and I think it's just so clever to help us sit down and think about listening. So the first element is we listen with our ears. Of course, we've got to physically let the sound waves come in to us, but it goes much beyond that. The second part of the symbol is we listen with our heart. We listen to the underlying emotion that somebody may be going through. So we listen to the subtext. Are they frustrated? Are they happy? Are they concerned? Are they anxious? So we're kind of listening with our heart to the emotion side of it. The third symbol is listen with our eyes. And I always thought that was so curious. How do we listen with our eyes? Well, it's amazing actually, because our eyes tell us so much about what's going on. We can pick up these little micro expressions that reveal so much about what the other person's going through. So very consciously listening with our eyes, looking at them, looking at those little micro expressions that they're making, because that's giving us so much more information in the way we listen. That's the third thing. The fourth thing was pay undivided attention. Be 100% present with them. You're not thinking about the next question. You're not thinking about something else. You are 100% present with them. I think in this world, being present with them is a superpower. So that was the fourth one. And I think that in itself is just so significant. And the fifth one was also really interesting, which is, it says, treat them like royalty.
Oh, I love
Treat
that.
them as if they're a king or a queen while they are expressing themselves. So when I sit down and think about listening, Darren, I think of the symbol called ting, because it just elevates listening to a completely new level.
I love it. Very good. I think, we are in an attention deficit society. So, to be able to pay attention to somebody treats them like royalty right there. I think in today's world, you could almost get a 2-for-1 for both of those, because it is so rare indeed. So Andre, if you were to, for someone coaching someone, what would be the first thing that you would recommend that they do to improve their listening?
I think it comes before they even say a word, is to just check in with yourself and make sure you're 100% present with them. As you said, in this attention deficit society, that is something that if you just do that, the other things will come. So to me, that's almost the gate to walk through. And once you walk through that gate, you're in a great place.
Wonderful. Thanks, Andre. That is fantastic.
Okay, so next video, we're going to be talking about questioning. Stay tuned.